Sometimes I read this, the players have become too big. So who's made them too big? Yeah? In the end of the day, cricketers are simple people, but then they get sort of everything gets blown out of proportion for them. Look, I think don't be critical of just Virat and Dhoni. Even Ashish Nehra is getting to decide one.
I wonder sometimes, Rahul, do you think players have become bigger than the game as a result? Of all the money, I call it democracy, but I just wonder whether the supremo cult has also come into cricket. I mean, Virat Kohli can decide who the coach of the team is, and as a result of that, I'm just wondering somewhere, Mahendra Singh Dhoni can probably decide when he wants to retire. We had a debate on Cricinfo yesterday whether Dhoni should actually give up T20 cricket, and this feeling was he should, but the fact is that no one is dare tell Mahendra Singh Dhoni, boss, your time is up. I'm just wondering whether players have become so, maybe I'm the romantic who's calling it democracy. Actually, the sport is now creating supremos and stars who believe that they are bigger than the game. Is that true? Do you get a sense of that?
Look, I think don't be critical of just Virat and Dhoni. Even Ashish Nehra is getting to decide one. So that's been very unfair. That's been very unfair to Virat and Dhoni. I mean, the Supremo. So in the end, in the heart of it, a lot of the cricketers that you come from actually come from really, humble, low, middle class backgrounds, and in the core of all of this, I mean, if you remove all of this, they're actually, just middle class, normal guys who grew up and have suddenly become heroes, and they become heroes thanks to, people like you and satellite television and keeping on asking them for interviews and, so writing books about them. So sometimes just to, blame them for and it's the game that's made them heroes. It's not their fault. I mean, sometimes I read this, the players have become too big. So who's made them too big? Yeah? So it's very easy to say that, and a lot of other people have become rich by players being rich. Let's face it, news channels want players there. They also sell ads. They're also making money off the ad. They're also putting on program. I mean, it's reality. No, it's the fact. The matter is that. So
I just want to say, Rahul, all the proceeds from this book don't go to me. They're going to provide sport. They're going to provide sport. No, they're going to provide sporting equipment to poor kids.
I didn't mean this book. And it's great. And firstly, it's great you're doing that. So congratulations on that, and really well done. I think we need to appreciate that as well. So it's fantastic. I'm kind of joking as well, half. So yes, it's just that, what I'm saying is that it's in the end of the day, cricketers are simple people, but then they get sort of everything gets blown out of proportion for them. So then they have to, you have to kind of lead that life. I mean, for me, one of the things, a simple thing for me was I would love playing overseas. I would love playing outside India. And one of the reasons I love doing it because I hated actually staying in my room. At the end of a day, I found I used to find it if I had to order room service or if I had to stay in my room, I used to find it terrible. I loved going out. I loved walking on the streets. I found that really relaxing. I found that helped my performance the next day. But, so when I was overseas and playing in England or playing in New Zealand or anywhere for that matter, I never ordered room service. I would just come at the end of the day, you'd have a shower and you'd ask the guys, okay, where do we go for a meal, or let's figure out the best Thai or Italian or something nearby, and we'd walk around and we'd be able to do that. But if you were playing in India, for example, you have a test match in Delhi or Bombay, you could not go down because there'd be so many people downstairs, and then if you went down, it'd just be a nuisance, and you're sort of not that you're being rude, but there's just only so many requests that you can follow, and then it just becomes hard at the end of a day's play to sort of keep signing autographs or keep doing, as we say, selfies nowadays. Luckily, when I started, there were not that many selfies, but yeah, the selfies or photographs, and that gets hard and that gets tough. So then players, the thing is, they retreat and they go back into their cocoon and they go back into their rooms and they sort of shield themselves with agents and all of that, and that's just a reflection of the time they're in. It's not who they are. If you, like you said, if you take that all away, in the end of the day, I work with these guys closely now at an A team level, so I get to really see who they really are, and they're not very different from who we are. there is a certain difference, which is a changing of the times, and that's great. But deep down, people haven't changed.
You didn't answer my question. Should the captain get to choose the coach? Should a player decide when he wants to retire? You don't have to write a book to say that. You just have to tell me what you think.
See, that's what a good journalist is. I gave a long, winding answer, thinking he'll just forget what he was really asking. Answer something else. What's the answer? Look, I think in the end of the day, I mean, I don't know the specifics of that particular issue, and it definitely shouldn't have got played out in the way that it did. I think the whole thing got played out in the media, which is very, very unfortunate for Anil, and not fair on him at all. So, what's the reality of it? What happens behind closed doors? I think, I'm not privy to, and I don't want to comment and access. But what I do want to say is that was definitely an unfortunate episode, and especially for someone like Anil, who's been an absolute legend to the game, and someone who's done more to win test matches for India than anybody I know, So and a successful year as a coach as well. So I think it was an unfortunate thing for him. See, coaches get sacked. I mean, the first thing you know is when you stop becoming a player and you become a coach, is that someday you are going to get sacked. I think that's the reality. All coaches get sacked. So I know that as an India under-19 coach, at some stage I am going to get the boot. Somebody's going to give me the sack, right? But that's reality. But just the way that it played out, and all coaches get sacked. Some football managers get sacked after 2 games. So it just happens. I mean, as a coach, you realize that in the end of the day, players are more powerful than coaches, and that's the reality. We were more powerful than the coaches when we played. That's the reality of the issue as well. But the fact is that it should never have got played out in the way that it did, publicly.
And should players choose when they can retire?
I think that's being unfair. How do we know Dhoni is choosing when he wants to retire? I mean, again, players should never have to choose when they can retire or when they shouldn't retire. That is a selector's call. But again, so a lot of these things aren't necessarily played out correctly. Just because someone says something in the media and people say something, it says that Dhoni is choosing when he wants to retire. I don't think that's you might have an opinion Dhoni is not good enough. I'm sorry. Or whatever you might not. I might have an opinion. Prem might say, no, I think Dhoni deserves to play the World Cup, and he'll give you good enough example for it. And in the end of the day, you have 3 selectors who make that decision. You have a captain and you'll have a coach who are making that decision, and you have to trust them to make the right decision. And if they feel that Dhoni is good enough, irrespective of what other people may feel, then he has every right to play till, I guess, whenever he wants.